can't even talk. I can't believe this is fucking real.
Everybody that's upset about this whole thing with the gender markers and your documents, you know, it's really time to reset, and it's time to do things right. It's time to get really honest. No more lying, no more invading women's sports, no more transing kids, no more affirmation, no more self-ID. Get honest with yourselves and this community. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Voices with Vicky. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you so much for the support. So, okay guys, today, you know, there's a couple things on my mind that I want to talk about, and I'm seeing a lot of it on, you know, the internet and in different spaces. One of the subjects is Sarah Mcbride. I think we'll start there. So what I'm finding with Sarah Mcbride is not good. So I've seen some clips and some things of this person, and if you don't know who Sarah Mcbride is, she is an elected official out of Delaware, and I think she had a lot of help from Joe Biden on that one, if you ask me. And Sarah Mcbride is an activist.
Hi everyone, Sarah Mcbride from the Human Rights Campaign here. HRC is organizing a national I Am Jazz Day of Reading in schools and communities across the country. I'm really excited to have the co-authors of I Am Jazz here with me, Jazz Jennings and Jessica Herthel.
And here's where the downfall comes in. You know, Sarah Mcbride's biggest mistake was talking to kids about trans stuff.
We read I Am Jazz. So how about I read I Am Jazz and then we can talk about different things. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does that work? Do you mind if we do that? If I read first and then we talk? Perfect. So I am going to read you I Am Jazz by Jessica Herthel and Jazz Jennings.
You're done. You have zero credibility. You can't be trusted once you do that and cross that line. And Sarah's done that under the guise of Human Rights Campaign and Jazz Jennings and all this political activist speak. And I have a really big problem with that. I have a big problem with the trans kid stuff. I mean, it's really over for Sarah Mcbride before it even got started. Stop talking to kids. This wouldn't have happened if you stopped talking to kids. And if you could walk back some of that stuff or take back some of those statements or adjust your thinking on it, maybe I would start to trust you one day, you know. But this is something that I think has got to stop in order for the trans community to be able to move forward. Half the LGBT community itself is sick of this crap. Let alone the people outside looking in are like, what the fuck? I don't understand how anyone could think that this is acceptable or appropriate. Like, why do you need to involve children to support what you did, an adult decision? It's not a child's decision. You know, some kids are really, really vulnerable, and they have other comorbidities and issues like autism that might make them more convinced that they're trans, or they make them go towards something like that more. I mean, hell, that's even happened with adults, the vulnerable adults. So this trans ideology is gripping. You're introducing an ideology to a vulnerable population of people, young people who are underage, who are still growing up, who have not lived in their bodies long enough or even been through puberty to know or understand who they truly are. I mean, how many times did you change when you were a kid and when you were growing up? This idea that you know who you are from a young age and it was always there, la la la. I feel like most people say that looking back as an adult, like even myself, right? So when I was, you know, I used to say things like, oh yeah, I always knew that I was gay. And what does that even mean? How does a 10-year-old really know that? We don't know that. You know, and there are kids that probably thought they were and they turned out not to be. I don't think it's right for adults to place those labels on children. I think that is where the slippery slope begins. You know, you don't label a child as gay. You don't label a child as trans. You need to give yourself time. You're going to grow and change and go through phases a lot in your life, especially from the ages of like 8 all the way up to 25 even in some cases. Sarah Mcbride is self-serving. She's gaslighting. I feel as though Sarah will jump on any and every opportunity to further victimize themselves.
We will not take a lecture on decorum from a party that incited an insurrection. I appear to live rent-free in the minds of some of my Republican colleagues. I wish that they would spend even a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, thinking about how to lower the costs for American families. I wish they would spend a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, figuring out how to make government actually work better, rather than making it work worse in order to prove that government can't work. They are obsessed with culture war issues. The Republican Party is obsessed with culture war issues. It is weird and it is bizarre.
The Republicans that are obsessed with identity politics? Let me say that again. The Republicans are obsessed with identity politics. Really? Let me tell you something. As a former Democrat, now independent, the identity politics game has always come from the left. It's originated from the left. The trans ideology, DEI, the constant race baiting, the queer community. God, I hate that word. I really hate that word. It's such an ugly political term and it's a slur. And I take issue with that being so normalized. And as soon as I see anybody using that language, I'm like, yep, this is purely politics for you. This is purely virtue signaling for you. The use of that word queer is just dirty. It's really not my community anymore. I don't really know what it is. It's really morphed into some social justice warrior bullshit. But because I'm the L in the LGBT, everybody assumes that I'm lockstep with every single school of thought that these people have, and that is just couldn't be further from the truth, honestly.
I now recognize the This hearing is adjourned.
Gosh, that guy, that is just fake outrage. Total fake outrage. I don't even think these people actually care about Sarah McBride at all. This is all just a political game or whatever. And as far as him being misgendered, I mean, I think a lot of people have adopted the thought process that the misgendering is occurring when you're calling Sarah a she. Now, I kind of land somewhere in the middle with a lot of that, because if you're somebody like Buck Angel, who is actively advocating to not have kids transition, doesn't want trans women in women's sports, wants things to be safe and gatekept in the trans community, then I'm more on the line of, I have respect for Buck Angel and I actually care about Buck as a friend. So I have no problem referring to Buck as a he. And honestly, I'm not reading woman on him really very much at all. That's just me though. But with Sarah McBride, I have a really hard time with it. And I don't like the fact that they've used their advocacy on kids. I don't appreciate that at all. To me, that looks very suspicious and nefarious. And they need to walk that back and walk it back hard for a long time for me to have any trust in this person. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. They're going to stick with this same ideology and this same rhetoric in hopes that enough people fall for it. I just don't understand it. I don't know why you would want to do this to kids. I don't know why you'd want to get them caught up in these adult situations. It's disgusting. So now I want to talk about this thing with the passport situation, right? So we've seen a lot of these viral videos where people are talking about how their passports, the gender marker was switched back from one to the other. And that seems to be a trend that's been happening to people. And I've got a lot of thoughts about that. So let's take a look at this clip from this individual who had their passport changed.
Hey guys, so got my passport back. Guess what's not corrected? So now I'm a male with Social Security, a male with Medicare, a female according to my passport. I couldn't even make this video when I opened it. I wanted to do a video opening it and hopefully being surprised, and of course I was so excited I just ripped it open and looked, and then got the shock of my life.
You know, I think people get really attached to these individuals, so these trans-identifying people. Whether they're really trans or not is another story, but I think they get really attached to the idea of being the opposite sex, so attached that they forget what their biology is. And it's left them in kind of a vulnerable position mentally. So when things like this happen, they have a complete meltdown.
I was really hopeful. Everybody kept telling me, just stay hopeful, just stay hopeful. You submitted it before he got into office. They received my passport in their office on January 15th. If they would have expedited it properly, I paid for expedited, 2 to 3 weeks. They received it in office on the 15th is when they showed it started to be processed. I just now got it back, so if they would have just processed it before he got in office. This is such a fucking mess, man. If you don't know me and this is the first time you've seen me, my name is Antonio Raven. I am a chronically ill, disabled, transgender man in Orlando, Florida. I can't even talk. I can't believe this is fucking real. Why do you gotta fuck around with people's lives? Why do you gotta play with people's lives? Like, my life is not messing with yours in any way, shape, or form. Just let trans people exist, for fuck's sake.
This person appears to me to really need healing. I think the idea here with Trump doing this is that there's a lot of people out there taking advantage of this system and the way it's set up. But it basically isn't a system. You can just make declarations about what you want your gender to be and go switch it back and forth willy-nilly. And it really shouldn't be a willy-nilly thing, because it opens the window and the door and the floodgates for people that are predatory to take advantage. It makes it so that people that are having a hard time, that perhaps really aren't trans and might think they are, can just go and make all of these changes and then have regrets later. We've seen that with detransitioners. You shouldn't be going back and forth. You shouldn't be saying you're one way and then saying you're something else and then getting on hormones and then getting off hormones. And there's just an influx of all of that. And it's not safe. It's not healthy. And it's continuous. And so I think the idea is to say, okay, we need to establish that there's two sexes. There's male and there's female. And that's it. And then I think we need to further establish and weed out the bad apples from this community. And there are plenty of them out there. And that is part of the reason I have this platform, is to highlight the fact that this is not all rainbows and sunshine. Some of these individuals were SA'd. And so they've developed this idea of trans as a way to sort of dissociate from that SA. And that is also very problematic, and that is not a reason to transition, which is why we need proper therapy. That's why we should not just be affirming people's identity, because we need to dig a little bit deeper with a lot of these folks. So I know and I understand that people are out there panicking and saying this is a trans genocide and that they're under attack and the whole community is under attack, but really it's to make adjustments to this process and to reestablish and build a new foundation. This foundation has been faulty from pretty much the very beginning. And I feel bad for the ones that are confused, because they probably need the most help in other ways that they're not really getting by identifying as trans. It's not really doing anything for them. It's not making them actually feel better about their lives. So people are not doing their jobs. The psychology is not doing its job. These surgeons certainly aren't helping anybody. The trans activism isn't helping anybody at this point. It's making things worse. It's rolling things back. It actually makes me sad that what's happening here in this clip, because, you know, they don't seem to be very solid with themselves. And it's showing that they're very insecure with who they are. That they could have this big of a meltdown. I also don't understand why they decided to go there about being disabled and all that. I mean, what does that have to do with your gender marker? Like nothing. Like, why I see this a lot in these videos, guys, where like they go there always about being, not just being trans, but being disabled and being all these layers of things that are awful and terrible and negative and woe is me. And it gives me the vibe, it reads very like, please feel bad for me.
After recording this video, I saw Buck Angel's take on this individual and this situation with the passports, and I thought this particular part was really important and a really great point. So take a look.
Oh, God. Come on, man. Really? First off, dude, really, you're crying on the internet over your passport? Like, how? I'm just embarrassed for you, number one. Number two, you look too old to be crying over your passport. Number three, I want to say this. Why did all of you transgender people wait until Trump got in office to get your passport? Okay? I will almost bet you all that these people aren't even traveling outside the country. So why are they getting their passport? What is it that you need your passport so bad? You're not going anywhere. Okay? It's just so weird. I feel like you're doing it to create victim-y status. So they can say, look, I got my passport and it says female. Sit down for 1 minute. Let me tell you something, buddy. I had a female passport looking like this for a long time. Okay, because back in the day, we didn't even get the opportunity to change our passports. I fucking traveled all over with F in my passport. Guess what? You can do it. No one's stopping you from traveling. It's kind of funny when the dude looks at your passport and it says female and they look at you and you're like, yeah, dude, I just said they made a mistake. That's what I said. And we laughed it off and went. But I want to say this about this person right here. I just want you to see this. Hold on here. Let me bring this back up. Do you see the glasses on this person's head? They have transgender flag in them, okay? So most all of these people identify as trans, okay? They don't identify as male and female like I do as a male. They identify as trans. They think this is all about their trans identity. So if that's the case, what are you freaking out about being outed as trans when you have trans flags, trans things, trans earrings, trans suitcase, trans tattoos, trans? People know you're trans, dude. So there's just something real fake about all this. It just feels fake and it feels victim-y and it feels like people are just dying to put this on TikTok so people can feel sorry for them.
I really think the movement just has gone too far. And it's crashing down now, and it needs to be rebuilt, like I said, on a better foundation. And time will do that. Time will really fix a lot of this and sort of reset everything. Everybody that's upset about this whole thing with the gender markers and your documents, you know, it's really time to reset. And it's time to do things right. It's time to get really honest. No more lying. No more invading women's sports, no more transing kids, no more affirmation, no more self-ID. Get honest with yourselves and this community. If you really think that you're trans, get a good therapist, not a gender affirmation therapist, by the way. Work on yourself first. See if that's really the pathway that you even want to be on. Do it slowly. Do things slowly. Everybody rushes to the gates with this, and that's why you're seeing the influx of detransitioners. And some of these people have permanently ruined their bodies because they rushed down the trans trending road, got surgeries, got hormones, And, you know, at that time, everybody was on their side and cheering for them. And then when they realized that they made a bad decision, they were shunned completely out of the community. And I vehemently disagree with that. We need to be there for those people who were conned into this on some level. Some of them were. Why is it that we're there for them when they say they're trans, but we're not there for them when they've changed their minds? Guys, let me know in the comments what you think about Sarah Mcbride. Do you trust this person? Because I'm not trusting that. With that Jazz video thing and the reading to kids about transgenderism, nope. That's strike 3 for me right there. Not cool. And then tell me what you think about this whole passport thing with the trans stuff. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.